Secretary of State Antony Blinken held a surprise meeting today with his Russian counterpart, Sergey Lavrov, at the G20 summit in India.
It's the first time they've spoken in person since the start of the war in Ukraine. The Russian Foreign Ministry says Blinken initiated the meeting, and a U.S. State Department official says it lasted less than 10 minutes.
I told the foreign minister what I and so many others said last week at the United Nations and what so many G20 foreign ministers said today. End this war of aggression.
CBS News foreign correspondent Imtiaz Tyab joins us now from Kyiv with the latest on this. Imtiaz, a senior U.S. official, says Blinken effectively used this time to make 3 points. Tell us about those points and this conversation.
Errol, Elaine, good to be with you. Yeah, an extraordinary day of diplomacy at the G20 in New Delhi, where Secretary Blinken met with his Russian counterpart, Sergey Lavrov. And this is the first time these two men have been in a room together, face-to-face, talking since January of 2022, so before Russia's invasion of Ukraine. And what we understand is 3 key points were passed on from Secretary Blinken to Mr. Lavrov. That includes the U.S. reaffirming that it will support Ukraine to the end of this war. It also had an appeal to Mr. Lavrov that Russia should rejoin the New START nuclear program, which essentially is an agreement between the U.S. and Russia in which they would limit the number of nuclear weapons they have. And finally, he called for Russia to release Paul Whelan. Paul Whelan is an American who's being held by Russia, and the U.S. believes he's being held unfairly or wrongly being held in Russia. So those are the 3 key points. But one other point was also addressed, which hasn't been given a lot of attention, which is the fact that Mr. Blinken said to Sergey Lavrov that he wants Russia to consider President Volodymyr Zelensky, the Ukrainian president's 10-point plan to end this war, which of course begins with ending the hostilities outright. So again, even though those men had only met for around 10 minutes or so, they covered an awful lot of ground. Errol, Elaine.
Imtiaz, do we know how Lavrov responded to that brief conversation?
In short, we don't know. However, going into this summit or this G20 meeting, Russia lashed out at the U.S., essentially saying that the U.S. was pressuring other countries which had, in their words, remained neutral when it came to the war in Ukraine, trying to urge them to support the U.S.'s position that the war is wrong and to act against Russia, or at the very least condemn Russia. So it started off very tense, but again, this is a pretty significant meeting for these two men to have. But in terms of how Russia had responded privately, we don't have a huge amount of information. But of course, that relationship between the U.S. And Russia is still very, very tense indeed. Errol.
And talk to us more
Elaine.
about that intensity, Imtiaz. While it may be encouraging that the diplomats are meeting in person and having a conversation, I'm just curious what that type of thing feels like where you are and how it's being received there.
Look, guys, this is massively significant. Analysts who pay very close attention to the relationship between Moscow and Washington say tensions are so high that they are at the worst that it's been since the Cuban Missile Crisis at the peak of the Cold War. And that was, of course, many, many decades ago, and that relationship between Moscow and Washington has had many tense moments. And so we are at a very, very difficult place for these two countries. But the fact that Secretary Blinken asked for this meeting really tells us that the Biden administration does want to keep some sort of diplomatic path open. And it would appear that the Biden administration feels, and indeed many other countries, including Ukraine, that there has to be some sort of diplomatic path forward. What that path is remains unclear, because Russia remaining very firm that they are not ending this war now in its 2nd year. Errol, Elaine.
Yeah, very good points there. Imtiaz Tyab, they're in Ukraine for us. Thank you.